Impact segment tonight. In the wake of the Rush Limbaugh, Samuel Fluck controversy, some Republicans are saying that comedian Bill Maher should also be held accountable. New ad from the political group ShePAC hammers home that point.
Hi, Bill Maher here. Sarah Palin agreed to do commentary at Fox News, which is actually very similar to her day job, talking to a baby with Down syndrome.
Speaking of dumb,
it's not because they have breasts, it's because they are boobs.
last week I said goodbye to $1 million. I made a contribution to Obama's super PAC.
This ends up being a teachable moment.
I wouldn't put anything past this stupid country.
All right, joining us now from Fort Worth, Texas, radio talk show host Janine Turner. You can read her commentary on JanineTurner.com. And from Los Angeles, Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. So, Leslie, ShePAC is a conservative women's group. They say that Maher should give the money back. Number one, is the ad fair? And number two, should the cash go back?
I think that the ad is fair if it would go further, Bill. So I guess I'd have to say no, because it doesn't cover everything.
Well,
I understand
it's 2.5 minutes, but I couldn't use 2.5 minutes. The ad's 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
And you go to, the shepac.com and watch it. But from what you heard to 30 seconds, then that was the pithiest part. Do you see anything unfair there? I mean, he's basically using the man's words and saying, look, if Mr. Obama is calling for civility, you just can't take money from a guy like that. And you say?
Well, I say basically, Bill, it's a double standard. I'm a woman first before a Democrat. I know you're going to love that, right? And here's the thing. When we have anybody, left or right, calling a woman on the left or the right, anything that is degrading, that is sexism. That is offensive to me, whether it is said about a Sarah Palin, a Michelle Bachmann, or a Sandra Fluke. The bottom line here is that anybody who is giving money to a politician, again, on the left or right, that politician can't be held responsible for the opinions or bad behavior of every person who gives donations.
Okay, but every person isn't a guy.
So I don't think the president should give the money back.
Every person, Leslie, that's a great rationalization, by the way. Every person isn't a guy as high profile as Mr. Maher, who made a big deal out of giving $1 million to, quote unquote, the Obama PAC, in his own words. So this isn't every person. This is a very high-profile situation. And, Janine, I mean, if you were President Obama, I'd assume you would give the money back, I mean, being a conservative and all that. But maybe you wouldn't.
Well, I agree with Leslie that I believe that all women should be treated fairly. And the president said in his press conference that he wants to lead by example on this issue. And so if he wants to prove that he's a president for all women in America and not just liberal women in America, then I think it would be very classy if he recommended that the money be returned.
All right. So it's as simple as that, Leslie. If he's going to lead by example, the president, and the money comes in from a guy who has a history of, dubious, that's always a good word, dubious comments. And I wouldn't even break it down to women. I mean, I think if you're a gutter snipe, and I'm not calling Mr. Maher that, but I think if you have a history of attacks, personal attacks, Al Franken does, there's a guy, all right? And you give money to somebody who's saying, I don't like personal attacks, you can't accept the money. You can't. Leslie?
But Bill, if we break it down, whether we look at, Rush, if he's given contributions to people on the right, Bill Maher, who has given $1 million to the president, and we could go on from there, couldn't we find something negative that somebody has said or done, both left or right, who is contributing to these politicians' campaigns?
But why would we bother to look, Leslie? Why would you go on a witch hunt to find that when you have an in-your-face situation here? Look, Janine, when you hear a comedian, you're a show business person, all right? And you've heard a lot of stuff, I'm sure, in your career. When you hear a show business person say demeaning things, shock jock stuff, that's what he's doing, all right? Can you just say, well, look, that's part of his shtick. That's how he makes a living. So Howard Stern does it. Don Imus does it. We can't hold it really literally against him, because that's the argument that's being made by some in the Democratic camp. Can't really hold it literally against him because that's what he does for a living. And you say, Janine?
Well, I say that there needs to be a fair standard. I mean, if one person's, there's always an outcry when something's said against a liberal woman. But when something's said against a conservative woman, it's like, just let it fly. And I think that there needs to be a fairness and balance here.
Schultz got suspended at NBC for a week when he attacked Laura Ingraham. And Maher has taken a lot of heat for what he said. He doesn't operate in a sponsor-driven world, but if he did, I'm sure sponsors would have bailed on him. But go ahead, Janine.
Well, to answer a question, I do think that there's like Saturday Night Live. I think that that's funny. I can take that. But this gets calling women the C word and all these terrible things
that's
that are
beyond
said.
the pale. It really is. So,
it is beyond the pale, and it's really actually
Janine,
atrocious.
Let's be kind, you and me. We're going to be kind to Leslie tonight and give her one more chance. Okay, one more chance, Leslie, to save the day for you. You have a president who goes to the nation and says, "I don't want this. You got to stop this." All right? He says that. Then you have a man, gives him $1 million, who does exactly what the president's saying not to do. Shouldn't the president very politely say, you know what? I can't take the money. Leslie.
I hear you, Bill.
You're hearing me. Good. I'm glad you're hearing me.
I hear you, but I don't think the president should have to do that. If he chooses to do that, fine. But if he shouldn't do it. He should not do it because he is not responsible for every word that a donor says. And if he does do it, I would like to see the Republicans give back money to those on the right who have said some nasty things.
I want the record to reflect that Janine and I tried to save you from yourself, but we just couldn't do it. Plenty more ahead as the Factor moves along this evening.